Looking nice. Looking nice. Okay, great. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, so welcome to the mock interviews. Before we get started again, I should ask beforehand, but what's your preferred language?
Python works.
Python's good? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm turning up a bit again. All right, Python's good. We can start with that. Okay, great. So, format this interview, we'll do about 45 minutes, questions and whatnot, and then we'll save 15 at the end for any feedback or questions that you might have for me. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started with the first one. So I'll read the question out to you. You can feel free to pause me whenever you are confused, and of course, you can ask questions for clarification. So the first question is going to be about a word search. Okay, so you are to write me a function which can find a word in a grid. Okay, the grid is going to be a two by two, or sorry, not two. It's two-dimensional matrix. It's a rectangular matrix, and inside the matrix, they may or may not be the word. And the rules for finding the word in this case is going to be that it can only be in a straight line. So it must be straight horizontal or straight vertical. So that is a prompt, and your goal is to return true if and only if the word can be found.
Okay. All right. I need to start off with a rectangular matrix. Does that mean that it's not going to be like an n by n, for example? So it won't be like a 2 by 2 or 3 by 3.
It can be in by in, but you can't assume it is. Rectangular in this case just means that it's not jagged.
Okay. Um, and since the word will be straight, horizontal, or vertical, the word, like the letters won't go into like the next row or column.
That's right.
So to start off with, or I guess for the input to the function, would that be the word that we're looking for?
The input would both
Sorry
be a
if I
word
missed.
and and the grid and the matrix.
So to start off with, a naive implementation might be to use for loops to go through the grid, but I feel like that would be too inefficient, um, especially if we're guaranteed that it must be a straight line or like vertical. Um, so I guess there definitely probably is a way to optimize that, but for now, I'll just start the naive implementation if that's all right.
Sure.
Did I write an example real quick? So what I'm thinking is that I want to be able to iterate iterate by row and column, because it could be horizontal or vertically, which would require 2 for loops, where one would sort of it would start at A, for example, and then we'd go C, and then D,
Okay.
and then we would if we get the length of the word, then we can check that many letters at a time. So for example, if there was another letter, but since we're looking for rat, this is only 3 letters. So if these 3 weren't rat, then we could move on to CDA, and if that's not rat, then we could skip to the next row, I guess. Yeah, okay, I'll start with that for now. So I'll just implement a for loop. And sorry, just to clarify, the grid that we pass in, oh yeah, okay, so it'll be a 2D matrix. And sorry, I'm blanking on how to get the length. Sorry.
So the grid is a 2D array, right? So the type of grid will be, in this case, you can see it's a list, list, and this would be a string. So this is the type. Do you remember how to get a length of a list?
Yeah. It would be the length of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm blanking. Wouldn't it be length of the grid? But since it's 2D, that should.
Yeah. So your input here in this case. So this is a list, right? This is a list. This is a list, and this will all be a list. This is your type. This is your input here. List of list. Right. So grid at 0 will equal ACD.
So if I do grid, I'm gonna make an accumulator to start off with, as an empty string, so that I can add, like ACD, for example, in this case, and then be able to check it with the word that's passed in.
Okay.
Uh, so then this would essentially go and start accumulating the letters in that row. Um, and then I want to check when the accumulator becomes the length of the word. I would want to check. I'm gonna check if the length of the word is equal to the, or if the current accumulated list that we have is equal to the length of the word, because then there's potential for it to be that word. And then I'm gonna use an and to then we'll join the accumulated array that I'm making, and then then we could return true. But the issue with this is only going through vertically, or sorry, horizontally. This isn't going through vertically as well, which would require another accumulator potentially, but then that would get messy. So I feel like there is a better way. If I could just take a moment to think about it.
Okay.
at the moment, what I'm thinking is that we have to iterate through like every row or column at least once to see if it has the value.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Sorry. What I'm currently thinking is that we have to iterate through every row and every column at least once.
Yes,
Because
that's
there's
true.
potential for the word to be there. So
I think it's totally fine to do 2 scans with this kind of approach, right? Don't be fancy with it. Just get it to
yeah,
work.
sounds good. Okay, so I'm just gonna make this is messy and definitely not the most efficient, but to start off with, I'll just also do another for loop. But this time we'll be going. So this would be horizontally, and this would be the vertical check, where we would go J and then I, and we have to make a separate accumulator for that. So this would be similar to what I did before, where we would start, so we're starting at the outer loop at I, which would be ACD, and then we would go into a inner for loop, which would go, which would be using J, and so that would be going through each individual letter, so A and then C and then D, and accumulating that essentially. And when we have the potential for the word to have been met by checking the length of the accumulated value, we would check if it is equal and then return true. And then I'm doing a similar idea in the second for loop, but instead now it's going vertically, so it'd be like ARP and then CAO, for example.
Okay.
And since we're not guaranteed that there's no word, if we don't return true in any of these inner for loops, we'd return false at the end.
Okay.
Because that means the word
Yeah.
isn't in the grid.
Yes. I did want to ask about your choice of putting this this loop over here. So, in our case, we're assuming that we're in row major order, right? So we have so our first so I in this case would be 0 at the start, and that would correspond to ACD, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So grid I would be equal to ACD, right? So you're saying that what you're doing is you're swapping the K, in this case you have K and J, right? So you're swapping the K and I, right? Um, but in this case, I'm not sure if this swap is correct because, grid at K might not exist, right? Because this is iterating over a different index,
True.
right? So K might be out of bounds, or I might be out of bounds.
Okay.
Right? So I think you're on the right approach here, but all you gotta do is actually just take this out of the loop. So make a second for, you can put like right here, for example, right? What am I doing here? So for something over here, I'm doing a loop over here, and then you can keep. So now you can keep your other variable over here, right? And now you can put k back here. So you can still do it. You can still do it this way, but you would need two loops, like this. So that's the first thing I'm gonna point out. Maybe you can just work through this first, and then I'll get to the second point after. So, let's assume that this is fine. We can do it horizontally. So we go through. So we have this pointer, and we go boom, 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 and we go through them row by row, and now we want to go through them column by column. So you want this variable here. I mean, I'm gonna just help you out. I'm just calling them column. So you want this column to be iterating through, A, R, P, C, A, O, etc. So how would you make that loop for a column here?
Okay, so I would go for column and I want to get the length, but I would want to get vertical length because it's rectangular.
Yeah, that would be the same as this one, right?
Yeah.
So it would be the same as the length at the grid at the first position, or at any position because it's rectangular.
Yeah.
You were on the right track there. You were on the right track there with the range. It's just a matter of what you want to have your range iterate over, right? So just like how you have your rows in the length of the grid, you have your columns in the length of the grid at any given position, right? So for example, your grid at position 0 will be this array, and it has the length that you need because this is essentially the number of columns you have, right? A, C, D, and each of these is a column over here. So this is simply just going to be a grid. You can pick any number you want, but we know that at this point, I mean, you're assuming at this point that grid at 0 is guaranteed to exist. We can talk about that later, but if you're going to assume it's going to be guaranteed to exist, you can just do it like so. Does that make sense? Okay, so you have your column, right? Now, how are you going to have your inside loop?
Okay, so this would be column. So if column AIP, so we want to iterate through this work anymore.
We're still going to want our loop. We're still going to want our loop, right? We're still going to want a loop because we're still doing the same algorithm as above, except we're just scanning in a different direction. So we still want to be able to iterate through the characters individually in the way that you have them set up, to be in a list. So what would your row range be in this context?
Your row range, would it be the number of lists inside? So for example, there's like 3 lists inside.
Yes, that's right. And how do you get that number?
You would get the you'd get the length of how many inner lists there are.
Okay, and how do you do that?
wouldn't be 0. Or, this would.
What's your thought process here?
So the thought process is we want to get how many lists, because we're trying to get this inner list right here. So we want to, so if we take this 0, this will give us the first column, for example.
If you get the 0, right? Remember, grid at 0 equals ACD. Right. In other words, we want num rows equals 3, but you can't use the word 3 here. You have to write something here, right? And this is going to be num rows, right? How do we put a 3 into this variable, right? How do we, and just to make it not confusing, I'm gonna add another row for us here, just to make, actually no, what I'll do is add another column. So I will do this. Okay, so we have 3 rows and 4 columns, right? Okay, so we still have 3 rows here, right? How do we get the number of rows from this grid variable?
So what you'd want to count the number of lists inside the outer, or like the outermost list.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Which the first thought that comes to mind is to iterate through another for loop, but there must be a better way to do that.
Yeah. So I mean, think about it. So we have. So put it this way. Oh, let's not do it that way. Okay, I'll do it this way. So let's do grid at 0, right? So this is grid at 0, this is grid at 1, this is grid at 2. And we say grid equals grid, well, let's put it this way. So row 1, row 2, row 3, and then grid equals R1, R2, R3, right? So we have a grid, this is our input, right? Our grid is our input, and it's a list of 3 lists in this case, right? Our goal here is to determine the number of rows in this matrix, right? Like we want to know how many rows there are. So given your input being grid, how do you find a number of rows?
Just go length the grid.
Yeah, we could just go.
Because that would give us the length of this, which would be R1, R2, and then R3.
Yep, length the grid. That would give us the number of, in this case, this gives us the number of rows. And for number of columns, what would that be in this case? So let's write that down for you, okay? So we don't get it confused. Length the grid. This is 3. And what would be the number of columns?
We wanna.
You had it right over here.
If we, but grid I would give us a row, no?
Grid I will give you a row, and what is the length of grid I?
That would give us the length of that row.
Yes, and what does the length of the row represent? You can look over here.
Oh, the number of columns.
Correct. So what should this be?
This would be 0 because the number of columns are going to be the same no matter which row we pick.
Exactly. Okay, exactly. So now we've set up our iteration for iterating through the matrix at column major order. So, from this point, what do you think? Like, what should happen in the loop?
Okay, so now that we have each column, what we want to do is similar to the previous example, but instead for here we would go, because this is going to be...
So I just want to clarify. So before you write anything down, so you're saying it'd be the same as the previous example, like except for...
by previous example, I meant like the way we're getting the letter.
Okay.
Except now we would want to go like our column first and then our row.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is, that sounds good to me. And now I'm going to change the problem so that the words will only be horizontal. So we will only consider the first loop from now on. Okay? Does that make sense? So no more no more vertical words. All the words are horizontal. Okay. So only be considering the first loop from now on. Now I wanna help us sort out this inside here. So I want to just clarify. Well, first before I clarify, does that make sense? How we're changing the problem?
Yeah. So we're just simplifying it down.
We're simplifying to only be horizontal. That's right. Okay. All right. So I want to clarify, what is the accumulator?
So the accumulator allows us to go through the row while still keeping track of like the previous letters that we've visited.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense. So let's say that our row is, so we're only consider this one row from now on. We're going to say that this row over here. Okay. So let's say my word is 8. Okay. Can you tell me what your accumulator will do?
Apparently it would get R and then
Yep.
It would get R and then
it would add R, right? So we can put it over here. So you can put like, you can go like equal. So you start off with just R, okay, and then
it would check if the word length is equal to like the current accumulator length is equal to the word length, which it isn't. So
okay.
just get this if loop.
Okay, and then next loop.
It would go back, and it would go 1. So then this would be A. And then similarly, it would add P. And then if it is, but now it is equal to the same, the word, the length is the same, but the words themselves are different, so it wouldn't return true.
Okay.
But what I'm not doing is I'm not resetting it, if that makes sense. Like,
yep.
Because what's gonna happen is it's just gonna skip over. Like right now, it's just gonna add E, and not like it would just add E and return false at the moment.
Okay.
So to get to prevent that, what I could do is when I do get to here, I could either move this up by 1 and then check the next. Because I don't want to make the string empty again, because then that would just like get rid of this, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So would rows have duplicates? I didn't ask that in the beginning, but
I mean they can, but I don't think it matters in this case. Like, what is your goal? Like, let's say we have our 3 letters, so we have RAT,
Yep.
and we're over here, it's equal, so we check it and it's false. And then we come back, right, and we add E, because this letter is now E, right? So now we're at the point, like after running this line of code, we're at the point where we have RATE. So what would you like to compare?
Well, I could check if 8 is a substring of
You could.
the row.
Yeah, you could. But what could you do to the accumulator to make it more convenient for you? Wouldn't it be nice if accumulator was just equal to ATE?
I could get rid of the R.
More generally, what do you get rid of?
Right.
So yes, you would get rid of the R. But what if this was not R? What if this was C? Right, then this would be C.
I'd get rid of the letters that aren't part of this string.
Okay, yes, I mean that's true. And how would you know? And how would you know if that is part of the string? Because you don't know if it's part of the string, right? Because like that's the point.
Yeah.
So how would you know?
I could, because now that I have the whole row, I could compare, but that would be more work. But,
Well, so the key thing here. So I think you're on the right track, but the key thing here is that you don't care. You just get rid of the first character, no matter what.
Okay.
Right? You can just get rid of the first one. You know, your target word is length 3. You were length 3 before with cat, right? Now you have an E at the end. So you must get rid of the C. You must get rid of the first character. Right? This is no longer eligible for comparison because you already previously compared it. Right? You already compared CAT with ATE. It's not a match. And so now you have a new letter, AT, with the E at the end is a new letter, right? So now a new word, ATE. And so when you have this situation, you no longer care about the previous characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the overall algorithm will be, we will get a letter, okay, and we will append the letter as you have right now, right? And if the length of our accumulator is larger than the length of our target word, we'll just remove the first character. Because it can no longer be, it can obviously not be the same if it's different lengths, right? If it's not long enough, then it can't be the same. It can't be correct because it's not long enough, right? But if it's too long, then we have to remove the letters from the start.
Yeah.
So can we modify the logic over here to do that?
Yeah. So we. So. I want to make a separate if to check if it's greater.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
We would.
Do you remember how to remove from the front of a list?
It's gonna make it an empty string. It could pop at 0.
Okay.
That would pop the C or like whatever letter it is in the first case, and then continue.
Cool. All right. In the interest of time, I would like to move on to time and space complexity analysis. So, do you have any intuition about what that would be for your algorithm here?
Yep. So for this algorithm, it would be so there's a for loop for the times. There's a for loop, So that'd be O of n, where n is like the length of your row. And then there's another for loop inside here, which would also be O of n, which would be the length of like how many letters are inside each row.
Okay.
The append isn't going to take any time because we're adding to the back of the list. So it's not going to have to shift any elements. And since we're popping from 0, that's gonna be constant as well. So it'd be time would be O of n squared, or like n by m.
Okay.
I guess.
Yep.
And then for space, since I'm using a list, it would be O of whatever the length of the row is, or the word, I guess, because now I'm removing, like I'm popping from 0. So the space would be O of the length of the word. Sorry.
Okay.
But that's how big the list would be.
Yep, makes sense. Anything else on that thing that takes a non-constant time?
The I think the join might, but I'm not 100% about that.
Okay. So what is the overall time complexity?
Sorry, O of n squared.
Okay. And space?
O of n, where n is like the length of the word.
Okay, what's the reason for that?
Because we are, the size of the list will be, will keep on getting added to until we reach this condition will keep on adding to the list. And then once we do have a list that's bigger than the length of the word, we'll be popping a element off.
Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. All right, I want to end the mock here, and I want to go into feedback. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Okay. As always, I usually ask, how do you feel? How do you feel about how this went? What's good? What's bad?
Not great. I think I blanked a lot. And also, next time I'll use a different language for sure, because most of my algorithm classes have been in Java. So then I started thinking of like Java syntax.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you had to help me out quite a bit. So yeah, that's definitely my fault.
Okay. So yeah, I did actually note here, and I'll send the notes after, by the way. But I will say here that I did notice that, I mean, Python is just obviously not your language, and of course it's good to get good at Python, but for the time being, it's much more effective to use the language that you've used in the past. Right? In this case, it would be Java, and Java is totally fine for Leetcode. So you can definitely use Java. I would still recommend learning Python and getting good at it, but like it's totally fun to use Java. It'll get you through any Leetcode problem, no problem. So that's totally okay. I know you probably read online a lot that Python's the preferred language, but if you're not good at it, don't try. Don't just stay with Java, learn the concepts, and then in the future you can move to Python. Okay, so that's a piece of advice for you there. Otherwise, I can go over some high-level thoughts here just to get us warmed up. I would say, again, all these kind of problems, the first thing that people, especially interviewers, when they have an understanding of your level, is the kind of questions that you ask about the prompt, right? If you think about it, that's really the first time that you think. So that's kind of the first impression, and you want to make sure you leave a good one. So things like, for example, asking about the, if there's going to be letters in a different row, you were clarifying what rectangular meant, right? Those are all good things to ask about. But there are also things that you should be asking about that aren't like problem specific and are more type specific. Okay, so for example, I say this every time as well, but just to make it, just to reiterate, if your input is a matrix, you have to immediately ask basic questions, right? For example, matrix input. Okay, what's the minimum length? Can it be null? Can it be jagged? In this case, I told you it's rectangular, so it can't be jagged. But if I didn't say that, you would have to ask, right? So these kind of questions, they should just be coming out immediately. Like whenever these types are shown up, you should be asking them immediately, right? For example, another input is the word is a string, right? Ask about the string. Is a string, can it be null? Can it be empty? What should happen if it's an empty string, right? So these are the kind of things that you need to be asking about because otherwise you might be caught in some edge case, and that's not a very good performance, right? Now, to be fair, the edge cases matter a lot more for automatic assessments and like online coding challenges. They don't matter as much for in-person stuff like these interviews, but they still matter and it leaves an impression. So make sure you cover your bases because it should be very easy to do. It should be very quick, very easy. I would say also in general, if you're, this is more of like a social tip, interview tip is to speak with more conviction. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're just talking to yourself, like you're thinking through a problem, or if you're talking to me and you're like trying to get my approval on your idea or trying to get me to voice my thoughts on your idea. That's oftentimes not clear, and I think in part is because you don't. It's not just about speaking loudly, but it's also about your tone and intonation, right? So I would say that's something you maybe just pay attention to, as well. This is a general one. This is a bit more in detail, a bit of a nit, but at the beginning you were saying how, hey, this is definitely not the most efficient way to do it. There's probably some optimization, etc. And while that may or may not be true, that doesn't really matter. Don't use the word definitely or like these really strongly assertive words unless you're actually sure what's going on. Because otherwise, if that isn't the case, like in this case, for example, in this problem, there really isn't any algorithm that's technically better. And I'll talk about the details, of course. But that kind of shows me, for example, that you either don't know what this problem is about, or that you have miscalculated a critical part. So just be careful with your choice of words there, because that can leave an impression as well. Examples are good. Write more examples. In this case, your example you wrote was, it definitely was an example, but one thing you definitely want to do is make your example as diverse as possible, if that makes sense. So for example, simple things like if it's a rectangular matrix, don't make your rows and columns the same, right? Just don't do that, make it different. And also, when you have an example and you walk through it to get the answer, think about what it means in terms of an algorithm, right? Like obviously you can find the word by looking at it, but how should the computer do it, right? That's something that you should be ironing out with your example, and you shouldn't be thinking about how to approach that afterwards. So that's a really great kind of thing to focus on, because if you don't have a solid algorithm, by the time you start coding, you're just not going to be able to find one in time. So make sure you really think of it beforehand. The solution itself, I will very briefly go over the solution itself, because I want to make sure that you kind of understand what's going on. I will start by saying that this is an adapted problem from the Leetcode word search. It's problem 79. You can go find it after. The Leetcode problem is quite a bit more difficult because it allows for a word to be like the word can snake around the matrix, so it can like turn and stuff. Right, this problem can only go straight, so it's a bit of an easier problem. But I encourage you to check out that Leetcode and kind of study some of the patterns there, right? But the main thing here, and I think we kind of got there at the end, and I will again clarify the details later, but we got there at the end, which is that we want to have one horizontal scan and one vertical scan, and for the most part, that would have been appropriate. There are some other things that could have been better in this case, like just as an idea wise. Like for example, one thing you didn't clarify is that the word can go backwards, right? Like in this case, we only assume the word can go forwards, like ATE is forwards, but ETA is also a valid word. And in this case, it should have also returned true because it is inside the matrix in one row and it's there, right? So in this case, there was a little detail that you missed, which was that when you have your inner loop for a horizontal, you should be both tracking J, which at this point starts at 0, and the last character, which starts at E. So in a sense, it's kind of like a pincer maneuver, right? It's like a pincer where you kind of go in from the sides, and that way you can find both forward and backwards words with one pass. So that's a little detail for you there. That could be improved, and I encourage you again on your own time, try the problem again. Actually run the code, right? This time I didn't run the code. It actually has a little bug in it, but it doesn't matter. But go and actually run the code, figure out, how to actually make it work. Because I think that could be very, very informative for you. Let's take a look. Okay, the loops as well. I think the loops was a bit of a struggle in this case. I'm not sure how much of it was due to being in Python versus you're not versus just simply not being sure how to iterate. Again, I think being Java definitely would have helped in this case. And just to be clear, if you're still in like an earlier stage of the problem, you can always ask, hey, I'm not really comfortable in Python. Can we switch to Java? Can we do this in Java, etc. It doesn't really hurt to ask, especially if you feel like you're really stuck on the syntax, right? That's just never really a good look. So, you know, in some situations, it's definitely okay to like try to switch the language. But I will say, I mean, and to be honest, I don't know how much of the loop is due to being in Python. Python and Java are both row major order. The syntax is different, but the way you count columns versus rows is the same. So either way, I encourage you to go back and just figure out how to do matrix traversals. Yeah, okay. So, and don't limit to 2D. Start with 1D list, then go to 2D matrix, then go to 3D, then go to 4D. Like figure out how all that stuff works. Make sure you're really good at that. Make sure you're really smooth at it, because that's something that shouldn't really take you time. Like that's meant to be part of the setup. That's not meant to be part of the algorithm. So make sure you kind of get that stuff ironed out really well. And then lastly, I will say about the time complexity and space complexity. You were pretty actually. I think you're pretty on the point for these kind of things for the analysis there, but your conclusion was not quite correct. So for example, and I will say this as a different tip. So your time complexity, you did call it out. This is O of n. This is O of m, and you should use two variables for that, right? Because the number of rows and the number of columns is not correlated. So you need two. If you're not correlated, then you need two variables. So when you described it to me, you did say number of rows times number of columns, but you still use the terminology n squared, right? So you kind of get half marks on that one. And then when I prompted, you did also recognize that this is, and this is correct by the way, that this is a non-constant time operation. This takes O of the length of the word, right? And again, the length of the word is not correlated with n and m. And so again, that needs a third variable, right? And so in this case, that would be correct. This would be, let's say it's it's like k or something. So this is OMK. And this part, I'm not sure if you kind of got it right in the end, but it's also true that this is not a constant time operation. Basically, all string operations is proportional to the length of the string, linearly to the length of the string. And so this would have also been O of k. So k plus k is still k, so this would have been O of in mk for time. And for space, you were right, it would have been length of the word, but again, you used the terminology O of n, and that's not quite correct. So that should have been O of k space. Let me just look at my notes, but I think that is all the feedback. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about, or any questions that you had about this problem, or about the interview in general?
Okay, I guess. Sorry, I was just thinking of the problem, and like for this part, could we use a Q instead? Like that just popped in my head.
You can, but you don't actually need any of that at all. You just need a single pointer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is a pointer problem. There's no need for extra space at all. The more generic version, which allows the problem to snake, then you do need extra memory. Then you need to have a visited array basically to track which squares you visited. So that one would require extra space. And then the more complex one on top of that, which is where you can reuse squares, that one requires more space. So for this problem, you actually don't need extra space, but if you go to Leetcode and do the real word search problem, that one will require more space. But in this case, you could use a queue, or you could just use pointers. Pointers would have been fine.
Yeah, okay. I think it's just I need to study up more. Not much off.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Blue, for your time, and good luck in your prep. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna send them the notes. Send the notes, and then we'll get started with the where's my thing? We'll get started with the resume review in a second. I did see some comments in chat, by the way. I'm actually gonna quickly address those while I'm here. So let me just quickly check the other stream. I'm also streaming on Twitch, by the way, so I'm just checking on there real quick. How do I do this? What is this? want to delete this guy. Block this kid. And then, wait a second, where the fuck is my admin panel? Top 5 intuitive UIs. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Stream info plus viewer, stream, follower, bitrate, chat, users in chat, guest invite. I don't fucking care. Right. So some of the stuff that people are talking about, again, this is a pared down version of word search. Yes, guys, I'm aware that this is a Leetcode problem. Yes, I'm aware that DFS is the intended way to solve this problem. The problem that I presented was not this one. It just sounded similar. Okay, so yes, everyone's done DFS. Okay, we get it. For the problem that we're doing here, again, this is a more early, earlier year student. This is something which is meant to be more approachable for people with less of a coding and Leetcode background. Okay, so that's why the problem was pared down. It was a simpler version, and for the simple version, you don't need DFS. Okay, so yes, we get it. We know you know DFS. I do too. Okay, that's not the point. There's another guy in the question. Someone else joined. A guy called Muslim. I know you don't need. I don't diss you. What? I don't diss you 100%. Okay, I'm having a stroke reading this. Okay, I think they're agreeing with me. So okay, I think they're agreeing with me. So I won't comment on that further. But I had a bit of a difficulty reading that. Okay. Twitch link, anyone? I mean, the Twitch link, you can just. I'll put it in here. Oh, that's a manager link. Oh, whatever. It probably is fine for you. But yeah, I'm streaming on Twitch too. I'm trying to multi-stream because I know some people prefer Twitch. But yeah, I'll be on both. It doesn't matter. I don't care where you are. Hey, that's cool. For me, it's kind of different because English is not my mother language. Preparing self-explain. Okay, cool. Yeah. It's very. I work with many multilingual people. It's very common that English is less comfortable. But yeah, over here, all the interviews are at. I mean, like they're at Western companies, right? So you can have to speak English. Okay, so let me just make sure the submission form is open. Boom. Yo, guys, by the way, I've been thinking about. Here. Let me post a link first. Submit resume. Okay, let me pin that. And then I'm going to resume. Boom. Pin that. I was thinking about, and I think Muslim said that. Yeah, do you think this can be that guy who submits his resume without redacting anything? Lol. Yeah, that tilts me because, like, I don't know, man. I mean, someone brought up a theory to me. Someone said, hey, maybe these are like those bot farms that just like submit things to to Google Forms no matter what. And I was thinking, oh, maybe these are like maybe these are like those auto apply things. Like, I don't know, like in those regions of the world, like because like the guys who don't redact are not from North America, obviously. Like maybe in those areas of the world they actually use Google Forms for resume submission. So maybe like over there the bots are like optimized to just click everything and just have it submit. I don't know. That was just a theory. It's very, very interesting. I don't know. Let me add a question. I want. Hold on. Let me do. Wait, how do I? Okay, here I can do it this way. Okay. Put some preferred pronouns here. Short answer text. You can put a short answer. Boom. Require. No, I'll make it optional. Okay. I'll make it optional. Oh, cool. You are here too on YouTube? I am here too on YouTube. Yes, that is me. I actually am primarily on YouTube, but people have kept telling me, you gotta go on Twitch, you gotta go on Twitch. Now, I hate Twitch, but if everyone wants me to be there, I'll go there. Submit a resume in pin comment. I'll be back at 105. Alright, I'll be back at 105. All right. Did you guys miss me? I sent my resume during the tech interview. Is that okay? That's fine. I think I recognize you, so that's fine. Usually I don't like that because people just drop it there and they just leave, and then I don't know if they're actually here or not. But that's fine. I know you, so you're chill. Twitch is fine. I hate Twitch too. Well, you probably see a lot of ads on Twitch. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if you see ads on YouTube. I don't think so because I have no fucking viewers. But I think on Twitch, even when I had like 10 concurrent viewers, they would show ads, which is ridiculous. So I don't like that. Does this guy just help anyone for free or any possible way to help with something like teach or mentoring someone, as I'm a developer? So I don't really understand the question. If I understand it correctly, yes, everything is free. I don't charge anything, and yes, I do also do mentoring for mid-level developers. But not on the stream. That's through Boba Talks. Okay, let's see. How many submissions do we have? Where the fuck is my spreadsheet? Here it is. Okay. Wow, this guy called Patrick submitted a lot last week, but they were all during the week. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Let's take a look. All right. What is this? Okay, that's a reasonable one. Okay. Should I go right? No, you know what? I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down today. That sounds fun. All right. Okay. Full stack dev at gov.org, 2023 September. Enjoying working backend. Career stagnated a bit since I've joined at gov.org. As you know, private tech does not respect it too much. I got a promotion to intermediate dev within 2 years. I worked extra hard after I got the advice from you to go for it. Now I feel it's due time for me to jump back to private or medium to big tech. Okay, can you get any advice? Career free, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, let's take a look. So where are you? You are Vancouver. You are Vancouver big tech. Let me have a look again. I mean, government, let me have a look. Whoa, they changed the Figma UI. What the fuck is this? It's so small now. Oh, lime green is disgusting. I love it. Okay. Okay. This is a while ago. Okay, I got you. Intern. Okay. Okay, right. This is slow. I don't remember this one anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, I do remember talking to somebody on the stream about that. This is an interesting stack. Okay. So, let me just have a look at the resume real quick, see what's going on here. Claim processing. Claim process. Okay, I know who this is. I remember you now. Okay. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, you made this thing? That's cool. I used it the other day. Blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah. All right. Resume's fine. Spend more time on the career side. So I would say this kind of stuff, because you've only been at government for like 2 years, basically, right? Basically exactly 2 years. That's fine, especially early career. That's okay, right? So I'd say you really haven't taken too big of a reputation or anything like that. And also, it looks like you've done some reasonable things. Like, okay, Java 8, Spring Boot, microservice, Kafka. That's okay. I mean, this one, front end, blah blah, jQuery. Okay, that's a bit yikes, but right, like overall, you've kind of kept it together here. So I'd say you're really not at a very big disadvantage, if at any disadvantage. So don't worry about that. Don't have that mindset, right? Now, I would say also, when you like, you have, I think I know where this is, by the way, but like, you have some stuff, you have some connections. I say now's the time you should, if your goal is to switch, which it sounds like it is, right? Spend more time on the networking side. Get to every event you can. Go to all the places. Talk to people. Try to get referrals. That really, I think, would be the next step for you, because the resume wise, I think this is totally fine. I think the skills here are fine. Everything's on display. The products don't even matter anymore. But like, I think you're not at a disadvantage. Now, if you're hitting 5 years, you're getting the senior level. You're hitting 5 years, right? 5 years plus, then people are gonna be concerned, right? But the thing is that you're basically a fresh. Well, I mean, you're basically a fresh grad, right? So fresh grad, 2 years, I think you're gonna be fine. So I think you're really not at that big of a disadvantage. So don't worry about that. And he has some good experience over here. So don't worry about that. I wouldn't worry. All right, let's take a look. I mean, uh, I did so too before the stream. I don't need to resubmit. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you don't need any help for someone. That's what I'm asking for. Oh, you mean if I need help to help other people? I don't, but you are free to join a few communities to help people. I'm in two communities primarily on this stream at least. I'm on Tech Career North. There should be a link to that in the description, the first link. And there's also Boba Talks, which I'm on, but isn't part of the stream. But I can still make an invite for that. Invite people, copy. Join Discord. Let me say 1 Tech Career North, and then 2 Boba Talks. So you can join either one to help people there. If you're mid-level, there's probably some demand for you. And I don't know where you're from, but there might be some demand for that as well. Although I will say that both are pretty focused on North America. All right, next guy. Let's have a look. Okay, so this guy is saying, new grad, full stack, backend, front-end, DevOps, infra, security, cloud. Okay. Apply any positions. Okay, and you're in over there. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. Okay, some stuff. Languages. Okay. Oh, nice. Lowercase. I'd love to see that. Okay, this is a pretty comprehensive. What's your database, by the way? I don't see a database. Am I blind? Oh, you have Firestore, I guess. Okay. Oh, Postgres one. Okay, here we are. Okay. This is front end. Okay. Oh no, this is ETL. Okay. Oh, this is front end. Okay. As a template. Okay. This is a bit verbose. I don't think details like this is really important. Like this is just not that relevant to be honest. Group B query rollback mechanism, SQL optimization. Okay. Ensure uninterrupted access critical data. Okay. I would say if you're gonna have this kind of thing, you gotta qualify with some data, like what's your uptime, right? But otherwise, that's pretty good. Integrated blah blah blah. Jira 2. Okay, 2. Okay, what is this? Hold on. Okay, that's a lot of time, by the way. That's good. Okay, I see. How long were you here for? You're an intern. I would say this point doesn't really matter. You can save some space. Okay, PHI. Reducing manual processing time 95%. Showing compliance. I like that. Ensuring robust health level 7. I'm actually not very familiar with all the HIPAA stuff, so I don't know what this actually means. But I'm sure it's something. I'm sure it's something. You're there for a couple months. Okay. Contributed to the. I would say you should be a bit more specific on what you specifically contributed. It's unclear if, it's unclear to me if, like, for example, like you're saying that something reduced the time of processing. Are you saying that the thing you contributed made the time reduce 95%, or are you saying the overall thing made that thing reduce 95%, right? So that's ambiguous. So I'd say because it's ambiguous, you better clarify. Otherwise, you know that meme where it's like if you're saying we did this, it's like no, everyone else did that, you did nothing. So it's a thing where you want to make sure that people who read a resume understand very clearly what you did to contribute. So make sure you kind of clarify that. Okay, what's this? This is a project. Oh, this is like an 8-month. This is a long project. Okay, capstone. I see capstone. Okay, so real-time transit weather data, end-to-end pipeline. Okay. So this is but this is like a data science project. Okay, data science stuff. I like it. Bit of models. It's hard to tell what exactly you did for the model training. For example, is this like plug and play? Did you design your own model? Is it a simple model like a classification tree? Is it a more complex one? No, network wise, I know the Keras, they have a lot of stuff out of the box, so I don't know how involved you were with this, for example. So okay, but it's nice. Capstone, it's good. Full stack finance application, REST, blah 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 blah. Okay, OpenAI. Okay. Okay. Cardio risk engine. Okay, okay, I see. So okay, I see. Let me see. What was your interest again? Full stack, backend, frontend, DevOps infra. Okay. All right, let me take a look again. This is data. This is front end. This is more data. I don't know what this is. It's probably back end. This is back end. This is data. This is full stack. Actually looks pretty full stack with some AI stuff sprinkled in. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. And I would say, I don't know how much of this is like just resume speak versus like actual stuff. If you have more stuff that you've left off the resume, I would recommend you have one resume for backend, front end, and lower priority, put in some like DevOps infra. And then for, if you're looking at some data, you have a lot of data stuff here, but you didn't put data as an interest. So I'm a bit confused. But if you want to go for data, I would say that needs a separate resume, like data or ML, stuff like that. Like that needs something separate, because I don't know, like you have a lot of data stuff here, but it's not your interest, so I'm just confused. Yeah, I don't know, man, but yeah, I'd say if you're, it seems like you might be sacrificing some details about full stack stuff like backend, front end infra work to put in things about data, like ETL pipelines and stuff. So, if that is a case, I would say split it out, put your data in a different resume, focus on front end, back end, full stack infra on this one. That's my tip. All right, I gotta move this along. I'm like way behind schedule. All right. Invite's expired. Okay. I have to invite it every time. And you know what they should do? Like they should just make the invite auto refresh. But I just updated it. It should be updated now. All right. Next guy. Let's take a look. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look. This guy said, following up on, wait, turn the AC on first. It's too fucking hot in Vancouver now. All right. Following on manager fucking message last week. Recent graduate master's C Eng, new grad roles, following on machine learning, based on feedback, a separate resume for full stack software. Okay, perfect. This is exactly what I want to hear. Okay. All right, full stack this time, right? Let's take a look. Okay. React Express, blah blah blah. Convenience, cluster array. Okay. Full stack, right? So we have React, Node, Express. Okay, basic stuff. I would say this is present, right? So talk about, here's the thing. I like that you have, so this is like tech stuff, that you have some DevOps stuff. I think this is good. Because this is recent, I would say you should put maybe a couple more points here. Like just talk a bit more detail, because this is going to be a talking point. Everything else you have is going to, like right now, this is already 8 months out of date, right? 8 months, and by the way, it's 8 months out of date because you have no job. If you have a job, then it's a bit more forgivable, but you have no job, this is 8 months out of date. So this is your only active effort right now. Where's my thing not working? So this is your only active project right now, which means that you should probably put like 2 more points here to talk about things. So just in terms of priority, okay? Okay, let's take a look. Blah blah. Okay. Age of MRI. Okay. 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 Yeah. So again, this is also your only full stack project. So you definitely want to put some more points there. Otherwise, everything else just kind of exists and probably won't help you with full stack software, but it's there. Okay. Next, let's take a look. Oh, this guy got funny with it. This guy got funny with it, eh? All right. Oh, they actually wrote me a blurb too. Okay, this is very good. Order preference, backend, DevOps, full stack. First internship, mid-tier company. My most recent Go project. When I strengthen it to save some money and save money. Okay. Options are, okay, well, hold on. What's your Go project? Over here? This one? Okay. Okay. Leave Kubernetes, migrate to Docker. Leave Kubernetes, migrate to monitored service that automatically restarts crash pods, rolling deployments, lightweight Kubernetes. I plan to use gRPC, monitor servers. I can use Prometheus, Grafana, okay. The theme of the project, wait, what's the question here? the theme of the project is like high availability, but I haven't collected any availability to flex the metrics. This is high availability, but I don't know how available it is. Interesting. Secrete portfolio may exist. University of Calgary. Some stuff. Oh, I didn't know they had a Alberta collegiate one. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay. Boom. Wait, what? Reducing average transaction time 2 minutes. 2 minutes zero phone. New. Okay. Oh, okay. Agile team of 5. You don't need the word also here. Okay. Let me take a look at your projects. Leetcode challenge, Discord, distributed Slack survey. Okay, so this I would personally put this above your projects, and I wouldn't title this experience. I would title this like club work or something. Unless you're paid. If you're paid, okay, experience. If you're not paid, just title it like club work or something. Okay. All right. So what's your Go project? Most recent Go. So this one. Oh, by the way, you spelled this. Oh, maybe that's your language, but you spelled it wrong. Okay, so this is your Go project. Okay, 13 active users, Chrome extension, backend service, legal submissions, blah blah. Done logs data, share Google Sheets, MySQL database. Okay, I see. GKE, Terraform, YAML. Okay, what is this? Deploy on that. Okay, Blue Green Roll deployments for someone near 27. Okay, I see. Okay, I see. Cybersecurity, blah blah. Okay. What would I say? Save some money. I mean, first of all, I think the tech stack here is pretty cool. I would say if you want to save money, just run it on your computer. To be completely honest, just run it on your computer. Like, I think there is a fine line, and by the way, I'm half joking. There's a fine line between like flexing your skills, showing off that you can do all these kind of things, which by the way, very impressive, very good, right, very nice. But also, for 13 active users, you can do it by hand if you needed to, right? So I would say, hey, you have the experience here. This is cool. You have the data. That's great. And then to save some money, I would say host everything on a single server if you don't run it on a computer, right? So don't use like what? Okay, what's your host? You have GKE. You don't need that. You have what is this? You don't need this either if you host it on just on the server, really. Blue green deployments, like let's be real, dude. You got 13 users. You don't need this. GraphQL is kind of cool, but again, that's not costing you money. Terraform to find private subnets. This is very, very cool. I like Terraform for that kind of stuff, but again, like you kind of got to pick and choose, right? Save money. I would say what you can do at this point: run everything on one EC2 instance, run a database, run all your web apps, run your API on it, run your database on it, and just that's probably your cheapest way to go about it. But again, if you want to grow your users, maybe you kind of move off that after about 10,000 active users. Then you can consider doing some other stuff. But again, this is a project. You're just showcasing some skills. It doesn't need to be fancy. Let me just quickly scan everything else. Okay, this is like how a recruiter would look at it. Maybe not a recruiter, but how I would look at it. Slackbot, blah blah, Spring Boot, 1% error rate. That's hella high. What? Oh, I see. Okay, this is a scale. This is a performance test. Okay. That's fine then. Schema 5. I've never seen a database described as a 5 schema PostgreSQL. Okay, that's fine. Blah blah. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, that's some feedback for your project, but it's not a bad project. I'm just saying that saving money and demonstrating the skills is oftentimes disjoint. All right, I'll click down on this guy. Let's go next. Go next. All right. In your walls. I like it. All right. Okay, this guy looking for a second co-op, new grad position, full stack software. All right, let's have a look. All right, so yep. BCS program. Love to see BCSers in here. Skills, Express Taiwan. Okay. Oh, I haven't seen Mo Awesome in a while. That's pretty cool. MongoDB. Jira Maven. Okay. Okay, that's good stuff. All right. So automate decision, automate security deployments, oracle. Development workflow enabling full automated pipelines for some number of blah blah. Okay. Okay. Good opening point. A lot of stuff going on there. Let me think about that. Let me think about this. Let it upgrade of stuff from Nexus to GitLab. That's good. This is supposed to be a Java shop then. Do you have Nexus here? Okay. Um, so this is okay. So this is DevOps. This is DevOps, and this is Dev. So this is like a DevOps point. Okay. Okay, I see you. I like that. Develop to keep future. Okay. Again, when you're trying to dosage, okay, blah 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 blah. Okay. Does not test the future. Connect to test integration. Deploy to future production environment. Okay, so this is like a full. So you're basically saying like you did the whole thing, like from the start to finish. Right, supporting your conversion. So this is like stakeholders, from stakeholders to gather requirements to shipping. Okay, I see that. That's good. Maintenance multiple. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so I usually don't really like the really long points, but I feel like if you've been here 8 months, it actually makes a bit more sense to separate them out this way. Now, I would personally put this point first. I think this point is better. I think this is a better experience, and the DevOps stuff is probably less important. Um, if you think otherwise, then you should explain why in the point itself. Because most people would say, hey, shipping a thing from start to finish is going to be more impressive and it has more stuff to talk about. That's my perspective there. All right, let's have a look. Better reads, personal book discovery platform. Okay, MERN stack, I like the MERN. Okay, team of 4. So this is a, okay. I see it. Key features include blah, 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 blah. Okay. Interactive book reviews, book renditions. Okay, I like that. MongoDB data schema, process clean Python, some books. Post on book rendition, key nearest neighbors. Okay, I like that. Semantic search engine, NLP word embeddings. Okay, I think this is a solid project. I would say this is I had this point to some earlier guy, right? Like this makes sense. You say what the thing is overall with a team of 4, and then you say what you did, right? Like this makes sense to me, so that's good. Pokemon game assets. Game assets, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is fine. Machine learning to your cheese fat load prediction. That's an interesting thing, okay. That should be lowercase, by the way. Cheese structured data sets. Okay, this is like more ML focused stuff. I would say ML stuff is cool, but if you're gonna put ML thing, we need some data. Like, what's your accuracy, right? Like I think that's missing here. Otherwise, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'd say, I mean, you're in pretty good shape. Nothing too much to say here, except that, obviously clean up the points at the bottom. This I'd say is definitely less impressive than your first project, so you can move some points around if you feel like it's necessary, but I feel like right now your point distribution is probably fine. And then just move the, oops, what am I doing? Why am my thing not working? There you go. And then just, hello, Figma moment. And then just move your first 2 points of your experience around. This guy put it twice. I'm gonna just ignore them. Okay, this guy. I was the in your wall guy. How good likely? 2026 version. Wait, where are you again? Oh shit! I fucking. Were you this guy? Yes, you were this guy. How likely are you to land 2026 internship based on resume? 2026? What season were you? Let me take a look. You are in your walls. That means you're. Where are you? This guy? No. This guy? Yes. You are. Oh yeah, it says University of Calgary. Okay, so Calgary. You're looking for the correct city. Very good. Do you say what company you're looking for? Let me see. Wait, was this you? This was you. No, you didn't say. First internship, I'd say summer would be tough. Summer's competitive. I'd say fall you have a decent chance. fall or winter. Decent chance. Fall, winter, spring. Yeah. Summer might be hard. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, next. This guy. Yeah, looks good. All right, so this guy said, trying for embedded software, a few things. I have more recent work experience which is not relevant to embedded software. It's data analytics, Python, Databricks, Pandas. Should I add it? Should I add a line in my skill section for the libraries and frameworks? What kind of personal projects can I work on to improve embedded? Okay, great. Oh no, why am I seeing color anymore? Okay, that's close enough. Okay, University X. Yeah, so this is actually, by the way, I will say this is exactly the time and place that you would put relevant coursework if you don't have relevant work experience or projects. Okay, programming. C, C++, Python, okay, Rest, Verilog, VHDL, okay. CMake, R, ROS, STM3, okay, Raspberry Pi, what is this? Electrical, well, okay, so you're like, what degree are you? You're just like electrical engineering stuff. Okay, very good. All right, let's have a look. Okay, so this is present. This is to now. Whoa, this is a long time. Holy, year and a half? Okay. Okay. I like the links, very good. I like the links, very good. Robot stuff, containerize, what is this? Containerize, okay. Visualization, okay. Okay. Verona-based techniques for map data composition, Verona composition, okay. I like that. I mean, who doesn't like a Verona diagram? I would say, okay, so this is, you've been here for a year and a bit, and you have some pretty big points here, so I think this is probably suitable. Platform software development. Bash, C++, unit tests. Okay. Kernel stuff, single thread, okay. Orb slam theory, okay. 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 C++, Python, roster, okay. I like robots. Robots are cool. This is projects. This is before. Okay, then this is projects. Okay. Linux driver. Okay. Okay, Linux driver. I'll put some dates over here, by the way. 2x machine, course project, embedded control systems, 2 super. Okay. All right. Sudoku solver. Okay. Design team. Okay, I like design team. Okay. Okay. External libraries to reviews. Okay, I see. Okay. Okay, so I had a couple questions. Okay. Let me put up your thing again. Right, you're saying. Wait, where are you? Okay. I would say your data role is not relevant. Like I'm looking at it. Yeah, I don't think I like I think the ones you have here are quite a bit better. I would still say like you could still put it in. Like put like a one line. You could always put one line. Just put it in, and that way it fills up the employment, right? So I'd say that's still good to put in. But you just don't need to elaborate on it. Like that's fine, and they can ask if they want. Should I add a line of my skills for libraries and frameworks? Yes, I would say that's also worth a line. What kind of personal products are working to improve embedded roles? So I'm not super familiar with embedded, so I don't want to give bad advice there. I would say in general, and this is true I know for most of software, is that the specific project doesn't matter nearly as much as how deep you go into that project. Like how much can you actually get your hands in there and really do something? And I feel like the number one correlator with that outcome is how much you enjoy doing the specific project you're doing. So I would say in general, find a project that you really enjoy, like idea or like a theme that you really like, and just really go deep into it. If you want specific ideas, I unfortunately am not familiar, so I won't be giving advice there. Okay, some good discussion there. All right, this guy. Let's take a look. All right. So this is the last one I'll do today, by the way. This guy's comment is, I'm looking for a C++ based opportunity, but honestly, I'm just trying to get hired anywhere from first co-op. I don't think I have enough experience to really get anywhere specific. Okay, cool. C++ is an interesting niche. Okay. Okay, so so C++, by the way, totally fine language. Nothing wrong with that, right? Um, there's way fewer C++ roles than there are just other generic roles. So if you want to get hired at C++, like not even as your first internship, but just in general, like you better know what you're doing, right? Like you better have something nice going on. So this is not resume advice, but in general, I would recommend getting a couple of just generic general work experiences first. Like just go do full stack, go do some web, go do some general backend stuff, right? Do some API stuff, just some infra, right? And then when you have a bit more leverage, you have more experience, then you can start looking at C++ specific stuff. Because right now it's hard to justify hiring someone with no experience that wants to go into C++. Um, but let me look at your let me look at your specific stuff as well. So let me see. Okay, so local tether C++, open SSL. This is a networking stuff. Cross-platform tool, share keyboard, mouse input, multiple Windows and Xbox, native Wayland support. Okay, cool. So set up to missing lag. Okay. 100% data transfers open. Okay, I like I say 100% of data transfers. It's a funny way to put it, but yeah, that's technically true. That's technically true. But again, if you're going for C++, you can't make up bullshit. Okay, someone who knows C++ and OpenSSL will just laugh at this number. So get rid of that, man. Implement async file transfer trunk.io. Wait, what? Why are we doing file transfer now? What? Share keyboard and mouse inputs. Okay. And then now we also have file transfer. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Automated server discovery, local networks using multi-threaded IP scanning. Wait, automated server discovery, local networks, automated. Okay. 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 I think that's a good feature. Like WPA3, I like it. Yeah, this is a good project. I think this is cool. Yeah. Okay, Versatile Training Hub. By the way, the link's good, date's good. Okay, keep that up. Rocket League trading platform with Next.js Prisma to let users browse, upload, preview packs. I don't know what a pack is, but I'm sure it's important. Enabled one-click game setup with TRPC, local HTTP. Okay. Okay, visual game metrics by decoding binary trading metadata to improve user. Okay, visualize metrics. Sub 100 milliseconds search latency globally. I guess this is very impressive considering 100 milliseconds is like the ping from one place to another. So, okay, I can believe that. I can believe this, and these three are good. Versatile training, DLL, overall. This is related. Okay. In-memory training logic, custom DLLs, 10. Okay. Okay, cool. Oh, this is pretty advanced. Okay, so this is actually fairly advanced. Okay, so that's good. Sync train data. Okay, so I would say maybe you need to rebrand this to make these two like the same thing, or like put them in the same header, so that for people who don't know what Rocket League is, which is most people by the way, at least I know what it is. They can kind of understand that this is related. Okay. You gotta understand most people who are looking at resume have not heard of Rocket League, right? So keep that in mind. Music app, blah blah. Don't care. All right, this is that's fine. This is fine. Okay, so again, I think maybe as an insurance policy, lean a bit more into the full stack, right? Just to help your employment, and then once you get some tenure under your belt, you can then focus more on C++. As it is, I think our products are pretty good, so that's not a concern to me. But again, right, just employability wise, it's a tough competition out there. All right, everybody, that is all. So let me just make sure things are. Hold on. Let me just check. Is Twitch popping off? No. Okay. So I mean that's all. So yeah, have a nice week.